First order of business, the giveaway winner will be announced right now. I don't actually know who they are, but they're popping up on the screen. Congratulations, you two. I will reply to your comment in that video and try to get in contact with you. If I don't get a response in a week, I'll pick a new winner. Again, thank you so much for 2,000 subscribers and for the couple hundred we've gained in the last couple weeks. You guys are amazing. That's enough out of me. Let's get into this long-ass recap. Takemichi Hanagaki, a 26-year-old man living in Tokyo with a deadbeat job and no prospects in life, is pushed onto the tracks whilst waiting for his train to arrive. Somebody's doing him a favor. Instead of his life ending there, he somehow ends up 12 years in the past, reliving his middle school days. He and his little gang of friends head to Shibuya 3rd Middle School to pick a fight with the second years. But instead, they get their asses handed to them by some third years in a biker gang, and are designated their new whipping boys. These delinquents are members of the Tokyo Manji gang, the same gang who killed his middle school girlfriend the day before he was pushed onto the train tracks. He then goes to visit his girlfriend, Hinata Tachibana, at her house, and sheds tears when he sees her alive. Later, at a park, he stands up to some bullies in defense of a little boy, who turns out to be Hinata's younger brother. Naoto Tachibana surprisingly believes Takemichi when he reveals how he's ended up in the past, and is even more surprised to hear that he and his sister will die in 12 years, on July 1st, 2017. The young boy agrees to look after her, and shakes Takemichi's hand, sending the delinquent back to his time, where he wakes up in an infirmary. The man who saved him from the tracks turns out to be Naoto, and he tells him that he took his words to protect his sister to heart, even becoming a police officer. But unfortunately, even though his fate changed, he could do nothing to change hers. Thus, he asks Takemichi for help in saving his sister's life. Wait, but how did Naoto save him if he was dead in that initial timeline? Okay, huge note. Don't think too deeply about the time travel in this show. It doesn't make any sense. Takemichi agrees, desperate to save the only girl he's ever dated, and Naoto has him relentlessly study on the Tokyo Manji gang. Naoto gives Takemichi his mission, before shaking his hand and sending him back to the past, prevent the two current members of Toman, Sano Manjiro and Kisaki Teta, from meeting, in order to prevent the group from becoming as rotten as it currently is. When he's transported back to the past, he's plopped in the middle of a Fight Club match, and is immediately knocked out. When he asks the organizer of this fight club, Kiyomizu Masataka, to meet one of the leaders of Toman, he refuses his request. He runs back to the Tachibana household to escape his impossible task and head back to the future, but after an endearing conversation with Hinata, he finds a little resolve. The next day, inspired by a will to change his cowardly ways, and in order to save his frail friend Takuya Yamamoto from an inevitable beating, Takemichi challenges Kiyomasa to a fight. As expected, he gets pummeled, but stands his ground nonetheless. Then Ryuguji Ken, vice commander of the Tokyo Manji gang, shows up with Sano Manjiro, their leader. Everyone bows down to their commander, and Takemichi's fortunes seem to change when Mikey tells him that starting today, they are friends.
Then he kicks Kiyomasa's ass and leaves.
The next day, Mikey suddenly shows up to fetch his new friend so they can play together. But Takemichi is a little wary to get involved with such sadistic guys, though Hina stands up for her boyfriend by slapping Mikey. Then Takemichi musters up the courage to stand up for her. The response he gets is not what he was expecting, as he earns their respect. Then after a short bike ride with his new friends, he wonders how Toman ends up so corrupt in the future. One day, after studying with Hina, they go to check out a fireworks show, and he ends up accidentally grabbing Naoto's hand instead of his girlfriend's, sending him back to the past. Side note, when Takemichi travels to the past, however much time passes there, also passes in the present. Takemichi insists to Naoto that they find Mikey and talk to him, but their only lead is Takemichi's childhood friend, Atsushi Sendo, who is a part of Toman's upper echelon. They meet Akun at his hostess bar, and the two friends catch up, but Takemichi is shocked when his old friend reveals that he was the one who pushed him onto the tracks. He suggests he must be able to travel to the past, by the way Naoto was ready to save him, then says how terrified he is of Kisaki, and that he has to obey him. Finally, he says that Mikey was never the same after Draken died, and that he's rooting for him to save everyone, before he jumps off the building, ending his life. Takemichi then has Naoto find out that Draken died 12 years ago on August 3rd, due to an internal conflict between the Mikey and Draken factions. So, he heads back to the past, And well, Takemichi, look at you. Oh, he ran away. He runs into Hina, then heads to a Toman meeting, and gets exposed by Emma, the girl he almost fucked.
She doesn't like him though. She just wanted to make Draken jealous.
The meeting then begins, where Mikey announces August 3rd as the date for a conflict with another gang, Mobius, who beat up 3rd Division Captain Pa's friend and raped his girlfriend.
Then we get a little flashback of when Draken met Mikey.
Takemichi returns to his time to confront Osanai, the man who led Mobius in the past, to learn about what happened the day Draken died. Apparently, Mobius didn't kill Draken, but the conflict was a catalyst that led to internal strife within Toman that resulted in his death, which all was a part of someone's plan. He returns to the past, is overjoyed when he sees Akun alive, then heads to stop Mikey from fighting with Mobius. Pa is furious at Takemichi for trying to interrupt their plans. Then Osanai and some Mobius goons show up out of the blue to get a head start on their war.
By the way, they're all 2 years older.
Pa gets his ass beat by Osanai. Then Mikey steps in to return the favor, and just as the Mobius commander looks defeated, Pa stabs him in the back. With the cops on the way, Pa decides to turn himself in, whilst his friends reluctantly flee the scene. This incident is what leads to the split in Toman, as Mikey wants to help free Pa, whereas Draken wants to honor his choice to turn himself in. The two end up in a standoff in front of Takemichi's house, with the crybaby's precious possessions serving as their weapons. Though the two laugh and make up, after Takemichi becomes enraged and ends up with a turd on his hair. So, August 3rd arrives, and the group enjoy themselves at a festival. Then when the rain scatters them, Takemichi gets a call from Yamagishi that some from the Mikey faction are still out to get Draken. So, Takemichi rushes to find him, but instead finds the one out to kill him, his old bully, Kiyomasa. Our protagonist is reminded that he still needs to hit the gym, and after they tie him up and leave him, Hina comes to help. He cries about his own weakness, but Hina cheers him up after she shares her first kiss with him, giving him the resolve he needs to continue his mission. He then runs into 2nd Division Captain Takashi Mitsuya, who says that Peian, Pa's former lieutenant, is out to get Draken as well. Elsewhere, Draken is confronted by Peian, who teams up with Mobius to jump him, but he manages to hold his own until Mitsuya and Takemichi arrive. Mikey then shows up as well, and asks Peian who tricked him into doing this, and Mobius' temporary commander Hanma Shuji takes that as the cue to introduce himself. History seems to be going off course from what Takemichi knows, and when the rest of the Tokyo Manji gang arrive, a new conflict between the two gangs kicks off. Mikey calms Peian down, whilst Takemichi is too late to stop Kiyomasa from stabbing Draken. As Mikey becomes occupied with Hanma, he tasks Takemichi with taking care of Draken, and he carries him out of the fight, where he waits with Hina and Emma for the ambulance. Unfortunately, Kiyomasa and his goons stumble across them, and Takemichi stands up for the group and himself, even overcoming being stabbed to choke out the delinquent. With a half-dozen guys still to deal with, Takemichi's friends pop up from out of nowhere to help take a beating long enough for the ambulance to arrive. At the hospital, everyone holds their breath, and in the end, the operation is successful, with nobody more relieved than Peian and Mikey. With Takemichi's mission a success, he is finally able to head back to his time, and when he returns, he finds Akun still alive, and Naoto calls to tell him his mission was a success. So, the two head to visit Hina, and whilst happy to see her, the mood is extremely awkward. Then when Naoto is called into work, Hina takes Takemichi to the place where he dumped her, and asks him why. Confused, he runs from the situation, straight into Hanma. Then on his way back to the car, he sees Akun ram a car into Hina's, as he has the same fear of Kisaki as last time.
Apparently they were trying to kill both of them.
He tries to save Hina after he tells her he's always loved her, but he can only watch as her car explodes. He attends her funeral, and is given the remnants of the 4-leaf clover he once gifted her from her mother, which she always kept close to her heart. Naoto then finds out that Draken is on death row, and they visit him, where they learn that once again, Kisaki is the root of Toman's evil. So he heads back to the past again, this time with the goal of being the head of Toman, and the first thing he sees is Kisaki Teta being announced as the new captain of the 3rd Division. Being a former member of Mobius, most aren't happy with the announcement, especially Takemichi, who ruins the ceremony by stalking him. Then, 1st Division Captain Keisuke Baji starts to beat on him out of nowhere and announces to Mikey that he'll be leaving Toman for Valhalla, the new gang that's replacing Mobius. After Kisaki knocks out Takemichi, Mikey asks him a favor when he awakens. He asks that he bring back his childhood friend and one of Toman's founding members, Baji, from Valhalla, and Takemichi agrees, if he promises to kick Kisaki out of Toman in return.
And Mikey says he'll kill him if he fails.
Oh, and Mikey places Takemichi in the 2nd division.
The next day at school, Hanamiya Kazutora, Valhalla's number 3 and a founding member of Toman, finds Takemichi and takes him back to the gang's hideout, where he sees Baji beating the shit out of his ex-vice captain to prove his loyalty. Hanma then welcomes Baji into their gang, but Takemichi can't understand why Baji would agree to join the gang, who's looking to kill his old friend.
Flashback time.
The Tokyo Manji gang was formed in the summer of 2003 by Mikey, Draken, Pa, Mitsuya, Baji, and Kazutora, and as a gift idea for Mikey's birthday, Kazutora takes Baji with him to steal a bike to replace his beaten-up moped. They almost succeed, but are caught by the owner, and before Baji can stop Kazutora from making a mistake, the 12-year-old kills the man with one swing of a wrench. Baji weeps as he sees Mikey's older brother Shinichiro lie there dead, and as the cops arrive to take the two boys away, Kazutora enters a trance where he convinces himself that Mikey is at fault and needs to die. What? Kazutora took the blame, allowing Baji to go free, and now that the youngster is out of jail, he wants to follow up on killing Mikey, which he will have the chance to do in 1 week on Halloween, when the two gangs have a showdown. The next day, Takemichi is confronted by 1st Division Vice Captain Matsuno Chifuyu, who believes that Baji is joining Toman to expose Kisaki, not to crush Toman. Chifuyu asks for Takemichi's help in helping Baji, and in return, he'll help him climb to the top of Toman, and thus, a partnership is born. The two visit Chifuyu's one lead, Osanai, who was used as a stepping stone by Kisaki, and he tells them that the incident on August 3rd was planned out by him. Though his plan to take Draken's place failed, he got close to Mikey by saying he could get Pa out of jail. The two put the pieces together and conclude that Valhalla's hidden leader must be Kisaki, and that the fight on October 31st is another plan of his. Takemichi then returns to the present to have Draken confirm this conclusion, but he states that Valhalla was put together for Mikey. On October 31st, 2005, Mikey killed Kazutora after watching him kill Baji, and Toman lost, being taken over by Valhalla with Mikey as its leader. Takemichi's goal this time is to protect Baji, and though he and Chifuyu fail to bring him back to Toman, Mikey asks his gang to beat Valhalla and bring his friend back to their side. Yo, Takemichi's been to the past like 58 times, you can't even subscribe or like once? It's embarrassing, really. Click the buttons. Now let's get back to the recap. So, the day of the fight arrives, and the 300 of Valhalla go up against the 150 of Toman, with Kazutora immediately engaging Mikey, whereas Draken is preoccupied with Hanma. Takemichi actually manages to fight back and galvanize the troops, whilst Mikey takes a beating from Kazutora as his captains hold him down. But the delinquent turns the tables with one kick, and before he's swarmed by more enemies, Kisaki and his 3rd Division take responsibility for defending their commander. Baji then hits Kisaki with a surprise attack, and when Takemichi tries to hold him back from his likely death, Kazutora sneaks up from behind and stabs his old friend.
Just because Hanma called and told him Baji's a traitor. Nice.
Though Baji plays it off like it's nothing, and takes down the whole 3rd Division to get to Kisaki, but by then, he can no longer hide the extent of his injury. With Baji bleeding out, Kisaki provokes Mikey, and after he knocks out Hanma with one kick and Valhalla go running, the only enemy left is Kazutora. As Mikey ruthlessly batters him, Baji rises and says that he won't die at Kazutora's hands, then stabs himself. With his last words, he calls the founding members of Toman his treasures, and entrusts them to Takemichi. Then he passes away in Shifuyu's arms. Takemichi can't seem to stop Mikey from attacking Kazutora, until the commander sees a familiar charm drop out of his jacket, the charm from the day they created Toman, that Baji has held onto all this time.
Baji was the reason they first started the gang.
This memory brings some clarity to everyone's minds, and Kazutora stays behind to face the police, whilst the rest of Toman scatter. 2 weeks later, Chifuyu visits Baji's grave to reminisce on his memories with the first man he respected, whilst Takemichi and Draken visit Kazutora, who's expecting at least 10 years in jail. This time, he resolves to own up to what he's done, but Draken says he'll never forgive him if he takes his own life like he's planning, and delivers Mikey's message that he forgives him. After a small misunderstanding where we learn that Emma and Mikey are half-siblings, Takemichi visits Shibuya 2nd Junior High Sewing Club President Mitsuya to receive his special gang jacket. At the next Toman meeting, Hanma is present to announce that Valhalla will be falling under Toman, with Kiseki serving as the mediator. Then, Takemichi comes one step closer to leading Toman, when Chifuyu announces him as the new captain of the 1st Division, with Mikey and Baji's blessing. With that, he decides to return back to his time, and finds himself as a top executive of Toman, with many other recognizable faces still around after 12 years. But no Mikey. When Kiseki shows up, he requests some of Takemichi's and Chifuyu's time, and after playing Mr. Nice Guy and having them toast to Baji, the duo pass out and awaken tied up. Apparently, Chifuyu informed on the still rotten Toman, and Kiseki found out, pinning the blame on both of them. Before Chifuyu is executed, he entrusts Baji's feelings and Toman to the crybaby Takemichi. Then Kiseki pulls the trigger.
In this timeline, Mikey's disappeared and Draken's been executed.
Then, Kiseki points the gun at Takemichi and says goodbye to his hero. Thank you for watching. I hope this video came out before Season 3 came out, and the Season 2 video should also be out very, very soon, so stay tuned for that. If you watched to the end, you already know what to do. Like, subscribe, comment. I would very much appreciate it. Take it easy, and peace.